Welcome back to the Relationships Made Simple for Men podcast with me, Bryce Bauer. I am on a mission to help men wake up in their relational lives. Knowing how to work with other people and yourself in the presence of others is the most important skill that you can develop in your life. So, with that being said, let's talk about one of the most common complaints that I hear men bring to me. And that is some version of my partner doesn't respect me. And the behaviors associated with a lack of respect are not getting appreciation for what you're doing, being talked down to, ignored, maybe yelled at or called names. And what I think this ultimately boils down to is a felt sense that your partner does not care about you. One of the things I like to do to help people understand relationships is to break things down into categories. So in this case, what we need to look at is what is your partner's responsibility and what is yours. One thing I want you to remember is that we are always responsible for our life, meaning we choose who to allow into our lives. We decide what we are willing to put up with, and we have to manage our own inner narrative about ourselves. This is really instructive because if we're allowing people into our lives to treat us poorly and we stay in these relationships without doing much about it, this is a mirror into how we treat ourselves. This is highlighting our sense of self-worth. I will give you an example of what this can look like. I had a client recently come in to see me, and he was telling me that he does all the chores in the house, he makes most of the money, and his wife constantly treats him like shit. She calls him names, she talks over him, and according to him, never appreciates him. Now, I'll take this with a grain of salt because she's not here to share her side, but let's say that that's true. The question that I need to keep bringing back to him is, why are you allowing yourself to stay in a relationship where someone treats you this way? He could share story after story, and I could validate his experience, maybe even feel bad for him, but that's probably not what's going to help him the most. What he needs to do is to look inward and to get curious about why he doesn't think that he deserves more in his relationship. And people will often say, no, I do think I deserve more. But the reality is that our actions are going to speak louder than our words. As adults, if we stay in a situation that doesn't feel good for us, it's because we are okay enough with it. And this can happen very subconsciously. Consciously, we understand that this isn't working and that we want it to change. But subconsciously, we've made some workaround. We have some doubt about ourselves. Maybe I don't really deserve more. Maybe they are right. I am a piece of shit. Or, yeah, I could leave this relationship, but I don't think I'll be able to find anybody else. So the choice becomes being in a relationship where at least someone's there, or being completely alone. Because if you really believe in your heart that you're a good guy that has a lot to offer, that's worked on himself, A, you're probably not going to get into a relationship with someone who treats you poorly. And B, if you do have to let that relationship go, you're going to feel confident that you can find someone else or be okay on your own in the meantime. That's what real security feels like. It's having the confidence to be on your own while also leaning into someone at times when you need support. And you're confident that you can assess this person's ability to hold you. So even though it is seductive to constantly complain and get validation for how we're being treated in a relationship, that's part of what keeps people stuck. That's the medicine to deal with the dysfunction in the relationship, along with alcohol, drugs, porn, or whatever type of distraction. You have to deal with the pain some way, and so you will naturally develop misery stabilizers. And this is also why people can struggle to have boundaries, because in the back of their minds, they don't really think that their partner is going to be able to show up in the way they want them to, and they're going to end up alone anyways. In fact, a boundary might even make things worse. So it's easier to stay with the status quo. And boundaries are hard, man. I get it. I mean, Jenny and I do this all the time with each other, and it goes pretty well. But with some other people in my life who don't have the relational education that I have, it can be scary and confusing. And I would imagine that some people in my life, friends and family, have thought at times that I'm high maintenance or kind of sensitive because I really do not want to operate from obligation. And I do want to talk about things that have happened in the past and feelings around that. And I do like to get clear on intentions, why we're doing things and when we're doing them. And what's really cool about this process is the more that you do this, the more you're training people how to treat you. Think about it. You might have someone in your life, maybe it's a boss or a friend, who seems really confident in themselves, like really boundaried, really authentic, really honest. And you know through your experience of being with them that they're going to be straight up with you, tell you what they want, tell you how they feel. And this will build your trust and respect for them. And if you don't have someone like this in your life, I suggest looking for somebody because these are the type of people that you want to have in your life. They are out there. Hopefully, this is making sense and giving you a different framework to think about. If you're feeling powerless in your relationship, remember, you always have the choice. And doing a new way is going to feel awkward and painful, and sometimes it's going to be messy, but it is worth it. Sometimes one conversation can completely change the trajectory of the relationship. And often it takes many little conversations, but I often find when I'm talking with clients that even just being able to be honest one time for like 5 minutes to share what you're really feeling and what you really need, while also being honest about what you're going to need to do if things don't change, that conversation can change a relationship forever. Think about it. You probably have someone in your life that you haven't shared your full truth with. Maybe it's a spouse, maybe it's a parent, maybe it's a friend. You could probably distill everything you want them to know about you into just a few sentences. And there's nothing stopping you from sharing that with them. You could call them right now. If I was thinking about what you might share with a spouse, it could sound something like, hey, I realize we've been in this pattern where we haven't always treated each other well. And so I'm committed to learning new ways to communicate starting today. My request is that you do this with me. And if we're learning and growing together, I'm all in to figure this out. And if you're not on board with it, I'm going to keep doing my part. But anytime things start to escalate, over text, on the phone, in person, I'm just going to have to leave because we do not have the skills together to be able to work through this. Just feel into that for a moment if that's something that you would need to say to your partner. Do you think they're going to respect you more by saying this or by watching you continually avoid dealing with whatever's coming up in you and not doing anything about it? Even though it might be confronting for them, ultimately, people respect truth and vulnerability and security. And sometimes we have to be the ones to model that. It really does take two to tango to stay in these immature patterns, but it only takes one person to break them. So instead of pointing the finger at them, the move is to look inward and start to take control of your relational life. I also want to talk about a few different reasons why your partner might not respect you. One of the most glaring reasons I see with men is that they've behaved poorly and they're not taking care of themselves. I'm thinking about some of the guys out there that have put on a bunch of weight, don't have any real close friendships. They're afraid to stand up to their parents. They're not really carrying their weight at home. They're irritable and pissed off all the time. And then they're like, why don't you respect me? And it's like, duh, they don't respect you because you don't respect yourself. You are not living your life in a way that demands much respect. Worth is inherent. You as a person are worthy of love, but respect is earned and maintained through your actions. And when I say respect, I don't mean kindness. Everyone deserves kindness, but you can't expect someone to respect you and look up to you and feel led by you if you're not showing up. And chances are you don't really feel good about it either. So you don't feel good about yourself in the way that you're showing up, and you're hoping that your partner will like kind of boost you and give you some positive encouragement. And a little bit of that can be helpful from time to time. I mean, we all need that. But if you're just collapsing and falling apart, your partner's going to get wore out. They're going to get frustrated, especially if they're doing the work and you're not. It's going to feel imbalanced. It's not going to feel fair. So you need to pick yourself up, even if that requires you getting support from others. That is respectable. Trying to do it on your own all the time and failing and then feeling sorry for yourself and wanting your partner to pick you up, that is a dysfunctional pattern. That is not respectable. And as men, I think we have to look in the mirror a lot because we, as men, are responsible for most of the bad behavior in the world. I'm not saying you personally, but us. Yeah, us. We have been in most of the leadership positions like forever, and we have not done a good job of making the world a safe place. So I do think it is our job, at least I take this on personally, to go above and beyond to try to make this world a safer place, especially for women. And the first place to start is in our closest relationships, because a lot of women have been hurt by other men in their past. And instead of pointing the finger at other guys or their past relationships, their dads or religious leaders or whoever, the more respectable move is to take that on and be like, I am going to learn how to be a safe space for you and hold all of your experience and not judge you because you're bringing some of that into the relationship. Most women have relational trauma from men in their past. That's just a reality. So we get to be the protectors. We get to be the ones to show them that there are confident, strong, emotionally available, safe men in the world to help them heal. And in my experience, we will get that back tenfold. Our partners want to help us and be there for us. We are often the linchpin because men traditionally don't open up, don't even know what they're feeling. Normative male alexithymia, like I talked about in a past video, is a real thing. And so we have to stretch ourselves in more uncomfortable ways in order to be able to do this. That's what ultimately will earn respect. I've worked with a lot of guys who have had a lot of success in their lives, made a lot of money, and they still say their partner doesn't respect them. So it gets me thinking, obviously, maybe that's not what it's about. I really don't think it is. Sure, it can feel good to have things and go on vacations, but what really matters is how we treat ourselves and our partners day to day in the more mundane activities. This is how we build up the respect bank account. So to sum all this up, first, you always want to be looking at yourself. You train people how to treat you. You're responsible for the boundaries. You decide who stays in your life and who goes. You are also responsible for respecting yourself, taking good care of yourself, your mind and body, so that you can show up resourced in your life. This isn't some magic formula. You probably already know a lot of this deep down. I'm just reminding you. All right, so that's what I have for today. If you like what I have to say, remember to like, subscribe, share, comment. We also have a new offering happening. I think we're offering it at 90% off the beta version. So if you want more info on that, you can go to my website at www.brycepower.com to learn more. Talk to you next week. Peace.